Fellow brewers, thanks for joining me. Today we've got a special batch of beer planned. This is going to be a pale ale for one of my best friend's weddings. There's going to be a couple firsts with this batch of beer. It's going to be the first time my beer's ever been kegged, and it's going to be the first time my beer has been available to the masses. At the reception there's going to be a couple hundred people there, maybe 200 people. So I was kind of going back and forth between, do I brew this pale ale do I make it approachable to everyone? Do I make it, kind of toned down a little bit? Or do I make it hoppy and dry, kind of how I like my own pale ales and how I know the groom likes his some of his beers? I decided to go with something I like, and I know the groom's going to like it. It's going to be a little bit hoppy, it's going to be a little bit dry, and if it doesn't get consumed in its entirety, then I'll drink it myself. So right now we're preheating our strike water. It's about 180 degrees right now. We're going to add this to our mash tun in a couple minutes. Preheat that, and while that's preheating, we're going to grind our grains. So let's get started on this wedding ale. So as always, I preheat my strike water on my stove. It's cheap, it saves propane. We're going to dump this freaking water in here. We're going to let this get down to probably 163, 164 before we add our grains in. Let's weigh out our grains and crush them up. The base of this beer is going to be a Maris Otter, but I'm going to go ahead and weigh out the specialty grains first. We're going to add some wheat in here. A little bit of crystal. A little bit of lighter crystal. So Maris Otter. And here's the rest of our base, Maris Otter, of course. Alright, let's crush it up. Marie, what are you doing? Don't go inside. Of course you don't. Let's keep crushing. So our mash tun's about 164 right now. We're going to add our grains in real slow. Like I've said before, I like to do this outside to keep these grain particles from getting around my fermenter. Alright, now that we're all mixed in, let's move it inside. The mash for this pale ale doesn't have a whole lot of special requirements as far as length of the mash or salt additions based on my water. I'm actually going to add a little bit of calcium chloride to balance my water, just a little bit. But we're going to do a standard 60-minute mash with this pale ale at about 152, 153, and then we'll start our sparge. Looks like all the dough balls are broken up. We're good to go. Wanted to point something out real quick. I'm mashing right now. I've got about 50 minutes left, and this is a good time to start filling up my sparge kettle, hot liquor tank, whatever you call it, and start warming that up on my stove. Saves propane. It's quick. Well, not really quick, but it saves propane. So our timer just went off. We're done with our 60-minute mash. Actually, here's a little secret of mine, not really a secret, but I keep the heat in this mash tun by putting a towel in there, and then I have this little styrofoam lid, so kind of traps the heat. I don't get as much drop over an hour, so this has been mashing for an hour. I'm going to start my Vorl off, which is really just a slow runoff of the wort, and then a return of the wort on top, and you're using the grain bed to filter out the finer particles. So this is our first half gallon of runoff from the mash. As you can see, it's really cloudy, so I'm going to pour it in here to my cooking tin. I've mentioned in previous videos this cooking tin has about 50 nail-sized holes in it, and what it does is just slowly return that wort on top of the grain bed here without disturbing it too much. Now I can continue to run off very slowly and clarify this wort. So our Vorlauf is completed. We started running clear, and now instead of recirculating the wort, I'm just running it off into the mash tun. Now since we're doing a pale ale, I like to first wort hop my pale ale, so I've got an ounce of Centennial. I'm going to throw that into my my boil kettle as I'm running off here. And this is supposedly equivalent to like a 20-minute addition, and it's supposed to be, you know, a smoother bitterness, maybe you know, a different flavor contribution than adding them at 20 minutes. So I know that I've done it a couple times. I liked it. I continue to do it. So apologize for the dim lighting. It gets pretty dark around here pretty quickly. So we're boiling. The sparge went fine. The Vorlauf went fine. We're running really clear. Business as usual. So now we're going to add our first addition of hops. This is just a little Magnum addition. The emphasis with this pale ale is going to be in the late hops, you know, from 10 minutes to 0 minutes, and we'll see if we can include that here in this video. So as you can see from that last shot, it was pretty dark in the garage, and I didn't bother filming any of the other hop additions. But of course, we finished the boil. We brought it in here, cooled with the wort chiller. Now I've got my submersible pump going and cooling the beer the rest of the way. In the meantime, I've got some Star San here in this fermenter, and I'm just shaking this up every couple minutes. All you need is just a little bit of contact time, and it'll be nice and sanitized. So we've cooled the beer down to 62 degrees, and we're slowly transferring it to our carboy here. As soon as it's full, of course, we'll move it down to the chest freezer, and we'll get a temperature reading. The thing is, with this brew kettle, sometimes I can get a reading of like 65, and I put it in my chest freezer downstairs, and it says 68. So I just get a second reading downstairs. As long as it's below my planned fermentation temperature, I'll go ahead and pitch my yeast. I'm going to shoot for about 66 on this before I pitch my yeast. So as you can see, we're almost done with our transfer here. Just want to show you guys this. I like to let this run super clear. Can I zoom in here? I don't know if you can see that, but pretty clear coming out of my kettle there. So we're 12 hours after pitching. Here's my dirty chest freezer, and we're sitting at 65 degrees. Like I said, 12 hours after pitching, and we already have 1 inch of krausen on top. This was a half-gallon starter that I pitched in there, decanted, of course, and then aerated. Actually, I aerated before I pitched. And it smells slightly fruity, and kind of has this citrusy, hoppy aroma as well, which I would expect from this pale ale. So there's your update. Get your approval?
We're dialing it.
All right, thank you. How's the beer? turned out pretty well. American Pale Ale.